from our perspective, we're really going to be delving quite deeply into the on-the-ground operational student recruitment, how we're doing it, how we're working with our different partners across the sector, but also, you know, really talking about making compliance great again and why compliance is very sexy at the moment and why you should all be very interested in that. But before we get started, as mentioned, my name's Chris Bandy. I'm the Executive Director for Acumen based in Australia, but I look after Australia and New Zealand. And my wonderful panel will just introduce themselves very quickly. So Sandeep, would you just want to do that with the mic? There's one there.
I'm Sandeep. I have been working with University of Sydney for past 3 years. And I have an overall experience of close to 2 years in the industry now. So it always feels like that I'm new. So I'm learning every day. So thank you to all of you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Riddhi Khurana and I represent Ontario Tech University as the recruitment advisor.
Hi everyone, I'm Sudha. I work with, I've worked at USC on campus for many, many years, and then I moved back to India and I now work with Acumen, and I continue to work for USC Viterbi. It's the School of Engineering, so my focus is graduate, so master's and PhD programs only in the School of Engineering.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I am Mahima. So I work as a regional recruitment advisor with University of York. I have been part of Acumen for about 8 years now, actually. So I have been part of this industry, specifically working with UK for about 8 years now. Thank you.
Fantastic. So as you can see, we have a really good cross-section of not only countries represented here today, but also, you know, universities that are centuries old and universities that are quite young and really growing and aggressively developing in the market. So I'm looking forward to some really interesting discussions. As I guess we all know, the agent network is exceptionally important in the work that we do. And just to get us going, I really wanted to start kind of looking at that and looking at the agent network, but really kind of delving into how you use your agent network, how you ensure you get the best results, and how you assess their success. So maybe, Riddhi, if I go to you first, that'd be great, and then we'll move from there.
Thank you so much. I work predominantly for the undergraduate market for the university. We do work with agents, but at the same time, we have a very strong school network because our recruitment is only around undergraduate market. So as we started in 2019 for Ontario Tech, we started to notice that agent market is really strong and can be really helpful for us to draw some attention from India as a recruitment base. So we started connecting with agents from then on, and it's been really well for us now that we are, you know, working with a lot of agents. But still, again, coming back to the point that I only work for the undergraduate recruitment for the university. So we have both the direct recruitment and the agent recruitment market. Yeah.
And what do you see as the main differences in how you engage with your agent network versus how you engage directly with the undergraduate schools network?
Well, it serves well in both scenarios for us because we started off as direct recruitment for the university, but at the same time, because agent network in India is really strong and it really helps us to mark our presence in the subcontinent. So I would say that, yes, developing an agent network was really helpful for the university and you know, establishing it as a brand.
And Mahima, your thoughts? How do you ensure that the agents are giving you what you need and bringing you quality students, and how do you assess that?
Right. So yes, as an institution, we do work with agents. In fact, 65 to 70% of our recruitment is through agents. Yes, so our reliability is a lot there. We do have direct recruitment as well, but still we rely a lot on the agents and our partners. So there are different parameters on which we assess their performance. So we take out cost per acquisition. So when I say cost per acquisition, how much time, money, resource, effort that I've invested on an agent. So the different categories or scale of agents. So there are small scale agents who probably would be, we would say, a boutique agent or a regional agent. Then there are mid-scale agents, like who are probably present but not pan-India present. And then there are big scale agents who are present pan-India. So the amount of investment that we are making on an agent and how many enrollment numbers are we getting. And when we say investment, it could be based on the number of visits that we have made, training and development of their team, their agent events, and overall, like, the application, total number of applications that they have submitted, how many of them were good quality applications? Because the admission team is also investing a lot of time and effort on assessing those applications. How many of those, out of those offer holders, like, turned into enrollment? So the conversion rate. So all those parameters, we do assess their performance. But the another important parameter, which I say become very, very important of late, is quality. So the quality of application, the quality of enrollments that we're getting from those agents is a very important parameter on which we assess the performance. There's certain regions which are considered to be high-risk regions. So if the agent is giving me a lot of enrollments, but if these are from those high-risk regions, I may not consider their performance as very good or great. I would still probably will give a feedback where we would want a whole diversification. And there's certain regions where we would want to focus more, but so those, if they have to align their strategy, with the strategy that university have, that we as a university is kind of working closely with them, training their team and trying to align our strategy with their strategy. So those are the factors on which we would assess their performance.
And those high risk or those areas where the performance isn't quite what you would like it to be, how do you then rectify that? How do you work with the agents to ensure that you are getting what you need?
So of course, there's regular, assessment that happens. So we have these monthly assessment where we review their performance. We give them regular feedback about where we are heading, in what direction we are heading. If required, we even kind of, obviously everything is documented, but if there's a regular feedback needed where we give them with examples, that these are the examples where we do not want, something that we do not want, or something which has been coming from your team. So probably your team need more training and development. So we arrange those training sessions for the team so that they can actually understand what we want and they can align their, strategies and the areas that they are covering, specifically for the Pan-India agents, because they may focus on one region which may not be my focus area for recruitment. So I would want that region, so they need to be more diversify their areas from which they are recruiting for me, and there are certain regions on which I would like them to focus on. So we arrange training development, give them regular feedbacks, and arrange those regular catch-ups with our agent partners. So that's what we do. Yeah,
I think that the communication aspect and the ability of having consistent representation on the ground enables us as an organisation to do that and get the best for our university partners. And Sandeep, the University of Sydney experience?
The way I personally see it, and I probably would end up speaking as an educator, because I do believe counsellors need to be empowered, whether they are working with agents or they are working with schools. So I would rather talk about how we provide support to them, or how do we not just assess, but support. So there are counsellor recognition schemes that we run, wherein we try to understand all the work they have done. It does not have to matter that they have submitted just, let's say, 5 quality applications and they have converted, but it's also about what are they doing, so we can also give them the necessary recognition. And the other part is around ideally helping them with understanding the product as well. I mean, counselors these days, if I just speak for Australia, there are 41 universities. So if you expect them that they will be able to help and, remember every information right at the moment, will not be possible. So you'll have to timely interact with them, provide them with the necessary support, so as to ensure that there are no lagging behind information that goes, and they are always updated about the new products that come in or the new courses that have been announced. So yeah.
And Sudha, I think as we were beginning to develop this session, something you said to me I thought was just quite wild, to be fair, given the sector we work in, and it's in that you don't use agents at all. So talk me through that. When you're not using agents in the market, then how do you get the results that you need?
So I started working in India in 2005. And when they hired me, they just said, well, anyway, you're in India, so just figure it out. So I was probably one of the very, very first recruiters or a university rep in India at that point. So I started looking. I spent about 3 months just trying to understand the market. And I said, well, you know, maybe we can use agents. And the university said, no, we don't use agents. I said, oh, we can give scholarships. And says, no, we don't give scholarships. I said, oh, we can give RAs and TAs to our students. They said, no, we can't do that. We are on the little bit more expensive side when it comes to university education. So, so I really spent a lot of time trying to understand you know, what our strengths are and where we are going, and you know, if we can't use agents, then we need to get the students to come to us. So what was really important was, how do you brand build? How do you use your alumni network? How do you do direct recruitment? How do you connect with other universities here in India so that you, you are able to attract students from there? How do you showcase what your strengths are? And we did have a lot of strengths. But also understanding what the student wants. The Indian student does want career outcomes, and that is a very, very important thing. So we were luckily doing a very good job with that, but we were just not showcasing all of that. So I've spent a lot of time making sure that we are showcasing our career outcomes as well. And not just that, even parents, I loop in our parents as well. So when I did my conversion events, I just finished a whole round of conversion events in various cities. One of the parents came and actually talked. And there was another in Chennai. In Bangalore, we had one of our parents actually talk. In Chennai, we actually had a parent sitting in the audience because they were there for their second child. And I didn't even have to do anything. By the time I finished my thing, there were 3 other parents who were a little hesitant about sending their kids to a big bad city like Los Angeles. But the mom just converted all the 3 of them for me. So
it's a pretty good afternoon at the office when you get 3 students in one go. But it sounds like coming through all of that, it's this communication aspect that is very, very key, regardless of who you're engaging with in the market. What we've seen in the last few years is the real, I guess, explosion in the aggregator networks and the aggregator markets. Now, when we speak to a number of institutions, we get some mixed feedback. Institutions are occasionally talking about the negatives in that they feel like their recruitment pipelines are very, very full, and that not necessarily all those applications are of the quality that institution needs. But I guess through our discussions, you seem to have a different standpoint or a different viewpoint on that. So Mahima, how does York engage with the aggregator network, and how do you ensure that, you know, they are putting into your pipeline applications that will ultimately, you know, turn into students?
I'm glad you asked that question, because that has been, like, you know, there have been a lot of discussions about working with aggregators. Some may want to work, some may not want to work. So I would say we as a university, wanted to explore this only when pandemic started. So we were, you know, when we moved from brick and mortar to actually a virtual world, and that was a very sudden shift. So that's when we were required to experiment and explore with agents who are actually can support us virtually, you know, with that AI tool. And that's when we experimented. And that's, I believe they were also at that point in time at developing stage, because we did face some concerns in terms of quality. And that has been, when it comes to aggregators, I believe Sandeep and few others mentioned that quality has been a concern. But I would say with time, now that I've been working with them for about 3 years now, I think that has worked well, because a regular feedback was shared with them. There was, of course, you know, support organized for them where they can help them train how they can, you know, assess their applications in a better way. Now they also have some checks in place. They understand what university want. They understand that it's not just about quantity, it's also about quality. And then we also as a university have some checks in place for applications coming from aggregators. We have some compliances in place where we actually probably be more vigilant through the applications. The admission team is more vigilant for the applications coming through some agents or some aggregators, so that we have our checks in place, they have their checks in place, and that has helped us get numbers and get quality numbers.
And it's probably a good time to mention that if, you know, you're an institution using aggregators and you are looking for a bit of that additional support, that's exactly what our PACE team can do to ensure that that pipeline is is free from applicants that, you know, potentially won't convert. But Riddhi, you were very strong with me that, you know, the negative feedback was not actually accurate and that you were getting some fantastic results out of aggregators. So, yeah, tell me about the university's experience.
Thank you. But yeah, as Mahima mentioned, that, you know, the quality is one of the reasons that we need to keep regular check-ins with the aggregators, because there are humongous applications coming in from them. My only point why I would prefer a model with aggregators would be that their outreach is extensive. Like, they are able to reach out to cities in cities in India, tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where maybe physically I'm not able to reach out because of some limitations, the capacity limitations of the university. So I'm really happy with the fact that there is an outreach with aggregators, because you don't need to be present there. They work with numerous other agencies. Definitely there is a follow-up check and, you know, certain training levels that we need to maintain. But at the same time, I would still side with the outreach factor, which for the university has been really helpful, because we're still trying to build a brand in the country. We're a young school. We're 2 decades old. So for us, the more outreach is better, as versus, okay, we're looking at quality and we're looking at quality control at a bigger scale. But yeah, that can be managed for us. But yeah, an outreach would be a better way to go about it.
We've had brand building twice now, so we'll play brand building bingo and see if we can get everyone to mention it at least one time. But you don't use aggregators?
No, we don't.
No. So I guess in lieu of not using the aggregators, can you, and given your focus on undergraduate recruitment, can you talk to me more about sort of the school mums group and the I guess not aggregators, but more the peak bodies representing all of the schools' networks, and how you kind of work with them and the different counsellor groups and I think it's the Red Pen group and these types of organisations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I see it, and I just don't see them as aggregators and like all the third-party networks. What I try to see is that our idea of working as ICRs is to ensure that we are able to support the most important stakeholders, that is the parents and the students. Now, when we are engaging with schools, we do engage with counselors, we do engage with students, but we actually end up forgetting the most important stakeholder, which is a parent. So now, what happens is when we are engaging with third parties, such as high school moms or C Alpha or Mindler, what they are trying to offer to us is they are trying to engage with these people as well, the important stakeholders for us. And also, while working with aggregators, as Riddhi and Mahima mentioned, there are another stakeholder as well, which we end up forgetting, and these are the people who are actually helping students to clear their language proficiency tests. And most of the aggregators have these people come in and join them. Now, the way we are able to target them through tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and also tier 4 cities if you would want to take them, aggregators have that penetration. Like IDP being one of the biggest agents, are planning to open another 100 offices in India. You might still not find them everywhere. And it is important for us, not just as a university, but as a university which is offering multiple support to everywhere. Equity and access is one of the most important things that we focus at. So while we are not working with aggregators at the moment, we are definitely trying to expand our horizons by partnering with high school moms at a certain level, Mindler, or even C Alpha. So we are providing them the support that is necessary so that they can empower the most important stakeholders for us, whether they be the students or the parents.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on and have a look at more kind of, you know, what the overwhelming demand from students in India is actually doing to some of your institutions. So we've seen the numbers, you know, it's predominantly been a postgraduate market, but we see the undergraduate market increasing year on year, and, you know, there's significant demand for specific courses at a lot of these institutions. So, Riddhi, I think we were talking about, and Mahima, you know, what your universities have done in response to just the overwhelming demand that you see coming out of India at the moment in regards to the course composition and what they're looking to do. So, Mahima, did you want to go first, or?
Yeah, certainly. So is it overall demand growing and sustainability is what you're talking about?
Well, it can be sustainability. So there's as a result of the 10K Voices survey that we did internally, we saw that sustainability was something that is very important to this generation of Indian students coming through. So
with the current scenario that we are going through right now, sustainability is a very important factor. So as a university, it's a public university, founded for public good. So sustainability has been embedded and will continue to be part of our responsibility and values. So we as an institution follow, we are one institution who follows 17, it is UN SDGs. That's something that we follow as an institution. But also it is something that we have embedded in our core teaching and research functions. So we have a number of courses as well that we are offering. For example, sustainability studies, sustainability sciences, corporate sustainability and environment sciences. Recently started a course on sustainability studies and business. So that's something that we are trying to embed in our teaching. We have a target of being, and I would say ambitious target of being carbon neutral by 2030. So for that, we are trying to put it in our teaching, but also at the same time empower our students to have that impact, positive, sustainable impact on society. And also give them that skill, that practical knowledge to how put that into action of sustainability. So these are some of the things that we are following. We are, of course, there are a lot of other practices that I'm sure a lot of other universities are also following, where we are trying to cut on the carbon emission and moved on, instead of printing our brochures, we moved on to creating QR codes, where we, instead of giving out brochures, we just give out our QR codes at the events where they can just scan and go through the information. So those are some of the things that we are practicing. And I'm sure there are other institutions who would probably be able to add to this.
Yeah, Riddhi, I think we were talking and you said that just because of the demand coming out of India, that your institution has actually basically changed the courses that it's delivering to satisfy that demand. Can you just talk me through that process? Because it's quite an interesting point that a university would actually change what they're teaching based on the demand coming out of one country.
I mean, I wouldn't say change, but yes, definitely adding on to the programs that we are already teaching at the university. As we're a young school, Ontario Tech makes sure that everything that's coming from the recruitment markets is being implemented at the university. So there are often meetings where we discuss what are the new trends that the students are asking for, what are the new programs that's going around in the market. And as we're a young school, again, we take in these feedback that is coming from the students and schools and institutions. So as a part of that practice, we've started programs into sustainability recently, and this is as a minor. This is not that we've started as a specialization, but at least there is an effort to include programs that are of interest for the students all over the world, and that's something that is really credible as an institution, for an institution to cater to the interest areas of students and the growing interests of different programs.
And we won't go into sort of sustainability driving T&E initiatives, because I'm sure that my colleagues will cover that in the next panel discussion. But Sudha, we were talking, and your university might be the only one that's won a Grammy or an Oscar for something, a course that they've got. So can you just talk us through that? Because I think as universities and what we're set up to do, we are there to try and solve some of the world's big challenges and the big problems. We've got the war in the Ukraine, we've got an ongoing refugee crisis in parts of Africa and even parts of Europe. So, yeah, talk us through what your university is doing in that regard. Yeah,
there's a fantastic course offered by the School of Engineering at USC. It's called Lives, Not Grades. As engineers, our students have skill sets across all the problem areas that a refugee camp would have. So we took our undergrad students to a refugee camp in Greece, and had them help out with problems dealing with water purification, about how do you have cheaper housing, which you can build very quickly, and so on. And these students went there and learned how to solve real-world problems in areas around the world. So.
And can you just tell us the name and the platform that it's on, so that anyone can have a look? Because I think this is a really good marketing tool for the university.
Yeah, so this program was called Lives, Not Grades, and it was a program that NPR ran. So I would recommend all of you to actually look at it. It's fantastic. So it won an Emmy Award, and we are just super proud about it. And my dean always brags because he was named as the producer. So he says he's the only engineering dean who won an Emmy.
It's very, very cool, and does show that, you know, there's a lot coming out of the university sector that we can all be very proud of. But Sandeep, do you think that, you know, universities and society more broadly being aware of these global challenges, sustainability, climate change, do you think that's impacting on the way that universities are now looking to recruit students, and you can take that from a global perspective or more specifically to India?
I'd rather want to talk about it from a global perspective. The reason being, very recently, I think last year, we introduced a course called Master of Social Justice. And it was ironic because it happened when Ukraine war started. So not only it was previously just focusing on global studies before, but now it has started offering specializations within peace and also social justice as well. So there are 3 specializations within that. If you get time, I would definitely advise you to visit the course. It's amazing in terms of what it offers and the number of scholarships it offers as well. So, and the way universities, and not just Sydney for that matter, but most of the Australian universities I know, they have been trying to go carbon neutral. So, University of Sydney, for an example, had set an ambitious target that they would try to go 100% electric free by 25. They have already met that target, and 3 years before, which is, in itself, it's pretty great. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that USC is a fully solar campus, so just a real exemplar of what we can do as a sector to lead the way in a lot of these changes, because as we know, these universities are, you know, some are multi-billion-dollar operations, and if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for everyone else. Now, the part that I promised where we would get to, you know, making compliance sexy again is what we will have a quick chat about now. But some of you may have seen, some of you may not, but there's been a lot of reporting, particularly in Australia in the last few days, around compliance, genuine students, the fact that students are coming in and then working full-time, and now that's been driven by some regulatory changes at the government end that have allowed that to happen, but it's also creating some concerns for a lot of our Australian institutions, but I'm sure in the UK as well, where the GTE and CAS compliance is in. So I think, Mahima, I'll start with you. And I don't want to use the word burden because I don't think it's the right one, but do you think having to adhere to the CAS and ensure that your students are genuinely going to the UK for the right reasons, do you see that as being, does it impact on your ability to do your job in the market, or does it impact on your ability to recruit as many students as you would like to?
Well, right now, one of the panelists, I think HK mentioned during one of the discussion that UK universities are right now facing the issue of problem of plenty, which is a good problem to have. So yes, we are definitely, compliance is very, very important. And like I mentioned earlier, quality has become one of the concern. We want to recruit students. Yes, I may not be, if I compromise on quality, I may be able to recruit more number of students, but that eventually going to hamper overall recruitment in the longer run, which we don't want. So we want to grow sustainably, but not exponentially. So compliance is a very important factor. In fact, I believe we are one of the first Russell Group University to introduce compliance interviews from starting this year before issuing CAS. So we want to be sure that students are joining the university for the right reasons. Their education has to be the priority. We are happy to, explore with mature students and students coming with dependents, which is absolutely okay if their reasons are right. So compliance is a very important factor. We have introduced, of course, we have become more vigilant with the applications, assessing the application now that we are working with aggregators, and we are trying to penetrate interiors of India, where the possibility is that we might end up compromising on quality, and we don't want to do that. And that's our reason why we want to introduce compliance interviews, because we want to recruit more students, but not at the cost of quality.
No, fantastic. And the University of Sydney, does it change the way you do anything in the market? And I guess my follow-up to that would be, how do you as an institution support the student or the agent or whoever it might be with ensuring that they're getting the right quality students for you?
That's an interesting question because I probably think we are the only university at the moment, not just in Australia, but I think all across, that we are the only team which has a school engagement team and a recruitment team. Now, when we talk about school engagement or even about recruiting through agents, one of the major focus, as everyone identified, is on GTE. And I think, again, we are the first country to exactly have a very specific process wherein not just the visa processing guys, but also university agents and students are also responsible for their compliances. And it's not just about finances. We try to empower students through this process, as you rightly said. It's not a burden. It's actually just allowing students and parents to make an informed choice why they are going to that university. And if you would have ever gone through the GTE form that we ask students or parents to fill out, it has a specific question: why are you going to that university? Why are you choosing the course that you are choosing to? And why are you going to that specific university and to that country when you are actually selecting that course? So it's not just about doing compliances or accepting the quality students, but it's also about letting students know that they have the option to make an informed choice. I know in one of the panels that we were speaking before, people did mention that students are not even aware at times that what their student number is. So when they are going through these screeners checks, they are aware that where they are applying and why they are applying. So throughout that processes, when you have specific processes wherein you first get an application, then you assess and give them an offer. So all those processes are actually sorted right at the beginning. And for us at Sydney, we do that process at the very beginning stage as well. So the moment a student applies, they get an application form to fill out, and they have to confirm their reasons of why they're applying to Sydney. And the best part, we have recently announced Sydney International Student Award, by which if they answer those questions, and if they are eligible, they will end up also getting 20% tuition fee contribution from the university, not just for the first year, but for the entire course duration. So it pays as well.
No, fantastic. Riddhi, when we were doing our prep, I made the comment that this must just make your life really easy not having to have any of these concerns. And again, you were very quick to shut me down, which shows my understanding of the Canadian market. But can you talk me through, well, just talk me through what you told me and talk the audience through that, because I found it really fascinating.
Well, interestingly, one of the reasons there is a lot of attraction for Canada is that it's a very simple recruitment process. Like it's simple for applying to the university, and it's simple to apply for a visa. Definitely, the latter part of it is, it's burdening, I would say, for people who are processing the visa, because everything's stuck in the pipeline. So there is no pre-check, there is no, GTE, so to speak, with for us, and that just puts everybody in the same spot for the process thereafter by IRCC. So interestingly, yes, it favors us in some way that the students find it easy to apply to Canada, but at the same time, it's interesting to note that IRCC, there have been certain delays in terms of visa processing, and we deal with that situation later on. But initially, yes, I would say that it is in one of our favors to recruit from the region. Yeah.
Awesome. We're getting the music, so we'll probably hear I can't keep my hands to myself very shortly. But Sudha, what's next? So for USC in India, what's next? What are you focused on, and what do you see for the market more broadly?
So if I look at our programs, computer science, like most universities, is just bursting at the seams. We have way more applications than we can handle. So we are not going to grow those programs anymore. So I think this fall we will likely be admitting students to our spring semester, even though they applied to the fall, because these are outstanding students and we just cannot have space for them. So the question is, how do we diversify? What are the other programs that, that I could push here in India, keeping in mind that, you know, career outcomes are very important and what the student wants. So I went through my list about a couple of years ago, and I said I targeted on engineering management. So how do you market engineering management? When I go to fairs, I see that maybe thousands of students are saying they're interested in management, right? Maybe they're interested in an MBA. But if they have an engineering degree, I wrote to them and I said, well, maybe you want to start thinking about engineering management because you don't need job experience, and B, you're done in 2 years, and you get these great jobs. So I did an entire program on that. And this year, when I met our admitted students, I saw a huge uptick in the number of students in engineering management. So my challenge is going to be to identify those programs that we have the ability to grow, and then which have a good fit for the Indian student. I mean, of course, my dean would love for me to get more students into our civil engineering department, but reality is that civil engineering programs, even in India, have been shrinking. Analytics, there's biomedical engineering. There's a quantum engineering program that we started partly around the same time that India announced its quantum initiative. So hopefully those are the ones that we will grow.
Fantastic.
VLSI is the other program that I'll be focusing on a lot because semiconductor industry is seeing a huge focus both in the US as well as India.
And I think that's a good message for us to finish on, is that, you know, there's lots of opportunities in the Indian market, but unless you tailor your product offering, you're not going to be able to capture everything you need to do. I think, thank you for the commentary around agents and aggregators and GT and compliance. And I think although universities are all competing for students, I think we're in a really privileged position that we have so many different universities working together on our platform, and I think we should look at it in a more of a co-opetition sort of model where we can leverage each other's experiences and leverage best practice to ensure that, you know, all of our universities thrive and everyone on our platform thrives together. And if that's at the expense of people not on our platform, that's okay, because then they can come across too. But thank you everyone for your time today. Round of applause for the panel. And, you know, you've seen these impressive people, and if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of them, because I'm sure they'd love to have a conversation. But thank you.